What's good, y'all? This is C, Certified Brewhead, and welcome to another edition of Beer and Other Shit, the podcast. Beer Mail. This actually is not a podcast, it is Beer Mail. I want to review these beers for you guys. Just before I start, I want a huge shout out to our friends Dave and Felicity back home in Melbourne who hooked us up with this t-shirt. This brand they have, a mate of theirs has called Snudge. They sent it to us because Snudge apparently means that in a glow that heterosexual men feel towards each other after a carton of beer. Touching is optional. So we thought that would be relevant, and you know what, I'm gonna get right into it. So the beers we're going to review today are by a new microbrewery here in Quebec called l'Arsenal, or Arsenal. They're based in a town called Charette, which apparently is near Trois-Rivières, so somewhat an hour and a half from Montreal. So we were at when we did the HELM podcast, which was episode 34, I believe. 33, I'm sorry. We were introduced to the two guys, Sylvain and Nicholas, I believe. They passed us their beers, and I couldn't believe how dope these bottles were. I'd only ever personally seen these aluminium bottles on, I believe it was like Bud Light Premium or something, like the macro stuff, because I assume these are pretty expensive and not that simple. So there's 4 different beers. We have a red ale, a session IPA, an IPA, and a dark saison. So we're just going to break them all out bit by bit and check them. I've had them sitting in the fridge for a month or two, been super keen to try them, but I figured I kind of was holding off, and I really thought it'd be better to do a video on something like this. We do talk a lot about beer marketing on the podcast, and I was so impressed with these guys that I really wanted to give them some coverage. So I haven't had any of the beers. I got no idea what to expect, so let's get right into it. Break out the trusty BrewHeads bottle opener, by far my favorite bottle opener on the planet. If you haven't cocked one, head over to thebrewheads.com. You can use our code. It's in the description. I always forget what it is. It's BAOS or something like that. And get yourself one of these bad boys. They're fantastic. So let's start. Oh yeah, with the red ale. Oh, it's a bit sticky. Okay. Interesting. Let's see what these guys are looking like. All right. So it's a little cloudy, not much head there. Super malty nose. Yeah, it smells great. That really smells like a red ale. I haven't really been a fan of red ales lately. I was back in the day, but never really a huge one. I had a few recently that impressed me. Can't remember off the top, but let's see what this bad boy's like. Yeah, it's great. Solid malty caramel notes, as you would expect. Little bit of sweetness. It's definitely not very sweet at all. Not even in the finish there. Even though it's kind of like shaken up, got a bit of a head. It doesn't taste super fizzy. It's like super carbonated, which I guess is a good thing as well. I mean, I guess that's a testament to the character of the beer. Probably more true to style than if it was overly carbonated. I am curious because there wasn't a huge like fizz when I was opening the bottle, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Potentially the packaging does. Like I said, this is like only the real first time sort of cracking craft out of these type of bottles. Though I did see someone on Instagram post the other day, somewhere in the States had them, or in Europe or something. So I know it's not life changing, but in Canada at the very least, I've never seen anything like this, and I really feel like this type of bold marketing move will get their beers moving off the shelf for sure. So this red ale is pretty good. I dig it. I'm going to get this done nice and quick. Not going to go on too long for y'all. So the Session IPA. Oh, by the way, so they all have separate names, of course. So the red ale is La Milice. Look, I really apologize. My French is whack. I have no idea what this even means. Probably something to do with the military, looking at the back. They all have a story, so a military-based story. So the Session is called La Charette, which is the town they're from. Maybe some of our Quebec folks will be able to explain this in more detail. All right, so the Session IPA. Don't laugh at me, Tiffany. All right. Pretty fly, nice and clear, crisp, honey-colored. All right. Definitely a touch of sweetness. It smells like, it's kind of got that, I don't know how else to explain it, but like that musty homebrew kind of smell. Definitely tastes a little homebrewy, and that's not a bad thing. It just has that those specific characters. I was reading a review actually from Noah Forrest, who's a big beer writer out here. He has a blog called Beerism, and he was reviewing these homebrewers who were apparently super dope. I forgot what they were called. And he was mentioning that as well. Like, even though some of the beers were super well made, they still have that homebrew quality. And I feel like it's the equipment. If there's any homebrewers out there who can explain what that homebrew flavor comes from, let us know in the comments. That would be dope. But this is good. Bitter, much more bitter than I expected from a session. Usually they're pretty like chill, but okay, yeah, sweet, not overly hoppy, a little bit resiny in there. I definitely expected a lot more sweetness in. I feel like session IPAs are usually made up more of sweeter flavors because the point is, you want to drink more of them. You still want the flavor, but I also feel like they're generally aimed at the newbies to it without scaring them too much. So it kind of like gives people that hop flavor and their bitterness without punching them in the palate, All right, that's Fire Flames. Let's go to the IPA. Always a fave. This one's called La Hanger. They did explain this to me. I think this one clearly is just about some sort of plain hanger thing. Oh, there's a bit more of a fizz. Oh, okay. Now there's the sweetness I was looking for. Yes. All right. Okay. Little more opaque in color there. Actually, let me just check. One thing I haven't mentioned was the ABV. So this 4% for the session. The IPA 6.2. Okay. Nice head. Oh yeah, a lot more sweetness on the nose. For sure. True. Okay. Still very bitter. A little sweeter than the session. I'm not sure if it actually mentions the hops. No, it doesn't. Yeah, I like this. This is great. Definitely it's heavy on the resiny, piney sort of hops. It's not with the tropical floral type of hops. So I couldn't really guess off the top of my head which hops they would have used. But there's the other. Yeah, that's solid. Doesn't really taste 6. So was it 6.2? Yeah, it doesn't really taste overly hectic, overly strong. I'm not a big fan of the liquor tasting. The liquor tasting beer, I find that like a mark of a well-made beer if it's hidden. That's solid. Definitely a resonating, lingering bitterness on the tongue there. So solid. I like that. And finally, it is La Canonnier. So I guess the cannon operator homie. And it's the Saison Noir. So hopefully this is the best order to have these in. I don't know if I was intelligent enough in my ordering. I figured anything with roasty malts should generally go last. Yeah, that's pretty dark. All right. Oh, wow. That looks like a porter. Man, that is like murky as well. Wicked coffee colored head. Foamy. It's dissipating pretty quickly. So it's got a little touch of like that Saison yeasty notes, like the esters coming through there on top of the dark roasty malt is definitely predominant. Yeah, I like that. Gotta get my swirl on though. Yeah, interesting. I don't think I've ever had a dark Saison from memory. This is dope. Definitely, once again, not as sweet. So their whole range is definitely not a sweet beer range. So that's interesting. A nice consistency across all the beers. As I swirl it more, I guess this is really testament to the yeast. Like the head is just exploding. Quite bitter. It's like a bitter, like this the fruit base, and then the bitterness and the roasty malt. Bit of caramel, bit of burnt coffee. A little bit like that sort of burnt flavor is quite strong on this, which I didn't really expect. I thought that would be a little much for a Saison. This kind of works in its own little way. Like once again, I haven't had anything quite like this. To generally their fruit. The Saisons have been like, chucked some fruit in there or whatever, not really dark malt. So interesting choice. All right, so pretty solid. I'm going to review them all individually, so you can head over to our Instagram, BAOS podcast, and check that. Actually, it's on my personal, CWEFOR. So I've contacted Arsenal for a podcast. We're just trying to figure out some logistics, and I really want to talk to these guys, particularly, primarily for the marketing, which is, I'm only trying the beers now, even though I reached out to them already. So all of them are solid. Like, I definitely would drink these all again. More understated than I would have picked. Nothing too crazy. They're not doing crazy beers. I mean, this is the Dark Saison is a little left field, but the rest of them are just well-made, foundation beers. Stuff that everybody can enjoy. I feel like that's a smart move. When you're doing packaging like this, it's really gonna attract people. Excuse me. Go for the standard, because the average person is going to see this, just like our mates Lost Craft. Like, you see the can, and we see people drinking that all the time who wouldn't normally drink craft beer because they like the can, and the beer inside is approachable. These are all very approachable. Definitely worth the look. I was told that they're out now, like it was December 2016, so they should be available in depths across Quebec, or at least in Montreal, and hopefully some bars. So take a look out for them. Check the description for all their links. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, on Facebook, hit that like button there. Hit us up on social everywhere. It's at BAOS Podcast everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. If you got any other beers you want us to do for the versus ones, or if you're a company and you want us to review something, get in touch. We'll make it happen. That's it, y'all. Appreciate it. Cheers.